In the final days of August 1945, the world knew that a city had vanished. Hiroshima, wiped from the map by a single, terrifying weapon. The official story, the one sanctioned by the victors, was one of immense power and a swift end to a brutal war. A story of destruction, yes, but a clean destruction. A problem solved. But on the ground, amidst the ruins and the whispers, a different story was unfolding. A story of a strange and terrifying sickness, a horror that had no name. The world was being told one thing, but the survivors were living through another. And to understand what was really happening, the world needed a witness. We often think of one man, one famous dispatch that broke the story. But the truth is there were two. Two very different journalists who, in their own way, became the first witnesses to the aftermath. And their stories reveal how truth, in the shadow of history, is never simple. The first man to bring back the story was someone uniquely positioned to tell it. His name was Leslie Nakashima, a Japanese-American, born in Hawaii, working for the American news agency, United Press. Before the war, he had lived in Japan, his wife's home country. His own mother-in-law still lived in Hiroshima. For weeks after the bombing on August 6th, he had no idea if she was alive or dead. On August 27th, 3 weeks after the blast, he was finally able to get permission. He wasn't sneaking in, he was an officially sanctioned reporter. He boarded a train and began the long journey into the heart of the devastation. His dispatch, published in the New York Times on August 31st, is a haunting, personal account. He describes finding his mother-in-law, thankfully alive, though injured. He walks through the ruins of a city he once knew. He describes what he calls the atomic bomb city. He notes the shattered concrete, the twisted steel, the sheer, unimaginable scale of the destruction. He was the first. His words were the first sanctioned, on-the-ground report from a foreign correspondent to reach the West. He was our first witness. But there was something his report didn't, and couldn't, explain. A terrifying mystery was just beginning to surface in the makeshift hospitals. People who had survived the initial blast, people who had walked away with only minor injuries, were suddenly falling ill. They developed high fevers. Their hair fell out in clumps. Purple spots, hemorrhages, appeared on their skin. Their bodies began to waste away. Japanese doctors were baffled and terrified. They had never seen anything like it. They called it Genshir-bio, or atomic bomb disease. But to the outside world, this was a secret. The official Allied narrative was clear. The bomb was a powerful explosive, but its effects were finite. Once the explosion was over, the danger was over. To suggest otherwise was to create a narrative of poison, of a weapon that kept on killing. And that narrative was not allowed. General MacArthur's occupation headquarters in Tokyo enforced strict censorship. No mention of this mysterious illness was permitted. The story was controlled. The world knew of the blast, but not the slow, silent poison it had left behind. But stories like that, truths that big, they have a way of getting out. It just takes someone stubborn enough and brave enough to go looking for it. That someone was an Australian journalist named Wilfred Burchett. Burchett was the opposite of an officially sanctioned reporter. He was a veteran war correspondent, famous for his grit and his fierce independence. He was skeptical of official military press releases. He believed the real story was always on the ground. While the other correspondents were waiting in Tokyo for official, guided tours, Burchett decided he wasn't going to wait. He heard the whispers, the rumors of a strange plague in Hiroshima. So he cashed in his only real asset, a first-class plane ticket home, for cash. He bought a train ticket and, with a small typewriter and a ration of biscuits and bully beef, he set off alone. It was a 30-hour journey. He traveled with a sign pinned to his chest, written in Japanese, "I am a foreign correspondent on my way to Hiroshima. Please help me if I get into trouble." He was defying direct orders. He knew the risks. What he found when he arrived on September 3rd, nearly a month after the bomb, changed his life and our understanding of the atomic age forever. The physical destruction was one thing, and he described it vividly. But it was what he found in a crowded, overwhelmed hospital that became the heart of his report. He walked through the wards. He saw the suffering firsthand. He spoke to the doctors, who shared their horrifying, helpless confusion. He sat on the floor, opened his Hermes baby typewriter, and began to write. His words became one of the most significant pieces of journalism of the 20th century. He typed out the first sentence. In Hiroshima, 30 days after the first atomic bomb destroyed the city and shook the world, people are still dying, mysteriously and horribly, people who were uninjured in the cataclysm, from an unknown something which I can only describe as the atomic plague. The atomic plague. With those 3 words, Burchett gave a name to the horror. He documented the symptoms, the hair loss, the hemorrhaging, the slow decay. He directly contradicted the official narrative that there were no lingering effects. He was telling the world that this was not just a bigger bomb. This was a new kind of death, one that didn't stop. He ended his report with a simple, powerful sentence that echoed across the globe. I write this as a warning to the world. He managed to get his story to a telegraph office. It was printed on the front page of the London Daily Express on September 5, 1945, under the headline, The Atomic Plague. The story was a bombshell. It was the first time the public in the West had heard of the terrifying effects of radiation sickness. The backlash from the US military was immediate and severe. They launched a campaign to discredit him. Official military sources called his report Japanese propaganda. They suggested he'd been duped. When he tried to send more photos and reports, his camera with all the film was mysteriously lost by the military. He was ostracized. The day after Burchett's story ran, the US military organized that long-promised press tour to Hiroshima. They held a press conference in the ruins with a high-ranking general stating unequivocally that there was no evidence of lingering radioactivity. The official story was fighting back. So you have these 2 stories. These 2 witnesses. Leslie Nakashima, the Japanese-American journalist who gave the world its first, personal, heartbreaking look at the city. His account was true, it was powerful, and it was sanctioned. And then you have Wilfred Burchett, the rule breaker, the man who went looking for the story behind the story. He wasn't the first correspondent there, but he was the first to tell the world the most terrifying truth of all. He told the story that the powerful did not want told. The story of Hiroshima's aftermath isn't just about a bomb. It's about how the first draft of history is written. It's about the difference between what we're told and what the eyewitness sees. Nakashima gave us the facts of the destruction. Burchett gave us the warning. Both were essential. One showed us the body of the city, the other, the invisible poison in its veins. And together, their dispatches remind us that the hardest truths are often the most necessary, and that true witnessing isn't just about seeing, it's about having the courage to understand and to tell.